Good evening. How are you? It's been a long time since I've done a video. Probably about 10 years. The last time I was doing videos, it was when I was doing the HCG diet, more of like a vlog. Um, and um, I wanted to start doing some videos kind of um, about the HCG diet, kind of, and how what you've experienced and what I've experienced since I've done the HCG diet. And also, I'm a nurse, so I would like to do some vlogs about being a nurse. So, but this one, I kind of want to talk about what my life has been like in the last 10 years since I have done the HCG diet. When I was doing that diet, I was doing the HCG, the real hormones, not the under the tongue, the sublingual drops, but actually the subcutaneous injections, and really felt like it was not for me. I'd never dieted before. Always just tried to eat right and exercise. I always used to love exercising. In fact, after I became a nurse, my plan was to also take classes to become like a physical trainer. I absolutely loved working out, and I'm trying to get back to it again. And it's been, I really do enjoy working out now that I have the time to do it. But anyways, when I was doing the HCG injections, I didn't do it very long. I didn't have much to lose. I only had maybe 10 pounds that I wanted to get off. It was so stupid. I should have just kind of restricted my diet a little bit more and worked out more. But instead, I thought that doing the HCG sounded really easy, and I felt like it did not work for me. I may have lost like 5 pounds while I was doing it, but I was hungry all the time. Not just craving food, but my stomach was growling all the time. I'd be in bed and I was starving. I just needed I would get some gum, some sugarless gum just to chew on because to make my body feel like I was eating something. But and then I was exhausted all the time. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse about 15 years, and just never had any energy. And you're not supposed to work out during it either, because you're only getting, is it 500 calories a day? 500, 550, something like that. But after I was doing the injections, I had put all my weight, the whole, 5 pounds back on, and then just started putting on so much, I think the highest I've been for weight is about 165 pounds, which is just, to me, is just outrageous. I never should have gotten that heavy. And I really feel like it destroyed it affects the thymus gland, but I really feel like eventually it did destroy my thyroid gland, because now I am hypothyroid now. I was diagnosed 3 years ago. I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I've got some other health issues now too. It just sucks. But, and I have a twin sister who has no health issues at all. And she's a smoker, but she takes no medications at all. And it just eventually, it'll catch up to her eventually, and not that I wish that on her. But I'm just curious to see what kind of effects, if you have done the HCG diet, what kind of effects it's had on you. Comment below if you never had any negative effects from it, or if you have had some negative effects from it. It's just something I'm curious. I'm not taking any kind of action or anything like that. I'm just kind of curious about, just because I kind of feel like I want to start vlogging again. I also want to talk about about my life as a nurse. I have done several different kinds of nursing. Right out of nursing school, I did neurotrauma, and I did about 9 months. I liked it a lot. Worked nights at the time. I graduated nursing school when I was 31, almost 32. So I started kind of late. I had I've always wanted to be a nurse ever since high school. But I was married young, and traveled. My husband was in the military, so traveled, and moved a lot. And by the time, and then we had our first child about 3 or 4 years after being married, and then another child 9 months later, and then I'm sorry, not 9 months, 18 months later, and then a couple of years later decided I wanted to go back to school again and became a nurse. And so, anyways, I graduated when I was 31, almost 32. And so I did neurotrauma for 9 months. And then I I thought doing home care would be more flexible for me. And it was. The only thing is if you don't, I only did it for 6 months because I felt it was very stressful for me, because I was also the case manager for my patients, and I just felt like I was working all the time. Always. I felt like I always had my patients on my mind all the time. It's not something where you just give up your patients to the next nurse, at the end of your shift. It's something that you're responsible for them. So I only did that for 6 months, and then I went on to my labor and delivery, which is why I went to nursing school in the first place. And I've been doing that off and on for the last 13, 14 years. I've done a few other things since then. I did it for 6 years in a hospital, and then we moved to a different state, and then I did it for about a year and a half. And then I did I'm just telling you all different kinds of nursing I've done, because there are so many opportunities as a nurse. If you don't like one thing, you can go on to the next, go on to something else. I did pre-op and PACU, and I absolutely hated that. It felt like I was doing, it was like an assembly line, and PACU was, you just never know how these patients are going to wake up. I did not like that at all. I like my patients to be awake. I like having relationships with my patients. So I did not like that. And then phase 2, oh my God, I just absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it. So I went from there, and so for 9 months, and then I went on to an arthritis center, and I did some infusion nursing, infusing biologics, if you know anything about that. That I liked it, but it was stressful. The pay was less. I worked 5 days a week and 8 to 9 hours a day, but I was on overtime quite a bit every week. And unfortunately, and I've never had this happen before, but I worked with a bunch of bitches. I absolutely hated it. I've never worked in an environment like that. Absolutely could not stand them. It was a very toxic environment. I absolutely hated it. I would probably be there still today if it wasn't for them. Although I hear that they're no longer there. Several years later, they're no longer there. They got fired because they're such bitches. Anyway, I went from that. During that time, I earned my master's in nursing in leadership and management, nursing leadership and management. I haven't done anything with my master's degree at that point. I did teach a little bit in a program where I was teaching obstetrics and peds at a school. They not very long because they closed, and I knew something was going on. I just had a very bad feeling, so I ended up quitting that job after about 3-4 weeks, and then shortly after that they closed. So it was kind of a good thing. And so at that point, I went back to labor and delivery again. I'm still there. Unfortunately, I had to go back to nights at that time, but it was a little bit easier because my kids were driving at that time, so I didn't have to wake up early to pick them up from school and take them to dance and sports and things like that. So it was a little bit easier at that time for me, but and I am still at that hospital, and I did full time for about 2.5 years, nights, where I was typically the lead nurse. The thing is where I was working, it was, we're very autonomous. The nurses were very autonomous. The doctors were never there except for deliveries. it wasn't a teaching hospital, so we didn't have any, any residents or interns. I'm now days there, but I'm working what's called occasional part-time. But I also picked up another job where I'm doing utilization review, and that I'm really enjoying. I'm doing that 5 days a week, same hospital system, but at a different location, about 4 hours a day, at a kind of a smaller hospital, and it's OB and gynecology surgeries, and labor and delivery, and that I'm really liking. I'm there, like I said, 5 days a week, and it's not stressful at all. I can do things at home if I need to, and I am really, really liking that. So, but I still kept my position as occasional part-time at my other hospital, and just working the minimum amount of hours just to keep my seniority there, and stay on days just in case something happens, because we always have that honeymoon phase where you're really enjoying your job, and then all of a sudden, like 6 weeks, and bam, something happens and you freaking hate your job. That has happened to me way too many times since we've moved to this state. Anyways, let me know what kind of questions that you might have. Labor and delivery is my specialty. I love OB. I love pregnancy. Love pregnancy so much that I was even trying to become a surrogate for my brother and his wife, and unfortunately made me sick. Like, it almost killed me, and that's another story too. So, anyways, let me know if you have any questions about nursing, or any experiences anyway with the HCG diet. Okay, comment below. Thanks.